All right, 7 o'clock, I'll call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Could you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Steve, you want to start us off?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the administration of the oath of office for the newly elected or re-elected council. So, Nicole?
Good evening. I'm going to, per the council charter, city charter, newly elected members are supposed to do their oath of office before they take on new duties. So we're going to ask that you guys stand up and raise your right hand and read your statements.
I, Stephanie Kilmer, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, and the state of Oregon, and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Coos Bay, and that I will, to the best of my ability, faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of councilor of the city of Coos Bay, mayor, and my continuance therein, so help me God.
Continues therein, so help me God.
So help me God.
You're ahead of us there, Drew.
Speed reader.
Thank you,
Speed
and
stutterers.
congratulations. You
All right.
will all have your certificates there.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is election of council president. So in your agenda or your packet today, you probably saw that we usually do this by ballot, but today we're going to, because of COVID and the way that we're set up, we're going to not proceed that way. What we're going to do is just do it verbally. So I'm going to suggest that we elect Council President Phil Marler again. I've asked him if he would be willing to do that, and he said he did. And so that's who I would suggest. But that doesn't mean that if someone would like to nominate somebody else, that they cannot do that. So it's up to the council. But that would be my suggestion and recommendation.
Do you need a second, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, so I'll move that Phil Marler be the council president.
Second?
Anyone else want to submit? Anybody else? No? You're going to be stuck with it, Phil. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much for agreeing to do that, Phil.
Thank you.
Now, we also, are we going to do the urban renewal? We'll wait until we get to urban renewal.
We'll wait till we.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments. This is something that if you'd like to come forth and discuss an item that's not on the agenda, this would be time to do so. And I have a list of only two, but it doesn't mean if someone else doesn't want to speak, that's fine. Steve Snyderman, you're the first on the list, and so come forth, name and the city that you reside in, please.
Thank you, Mayor Joe, councilors. My name is Steve Schneiderman. I reside here in Coos Bay, and congratulations to all you re-elected or newly elected. Listening to your oath of office, I became very concerned, though, and as part of why I'm here, because I don't really subscribe to conspiracy theories and stuff, but just today I witnessed Councilor Kilmer conspiring with the mayor of North Bend on a very important matter. And that matter is the 19th annual Rotary KDOC bus jam, which is occurring this weekend. And, Stephanie wears a couple hats. One is a city councilor here in Coos Bay, but also is the general manager of KDOC Radio that started the bus jam 19 years ago. And the bus jam takes place at Bimarts in both Coos Bay and North Bend. And they have team captains, and Stephanie heads up the North Bend group, and there's a competition between the cities for the bus jam trophy, which the city of Coos Bay now possesses, and Stephanie is trying to get that trophy over to North Bend, and we just can't let that happen. So I got to encourage all the citizens of Coos Bay to come out this Saturday to Coos Bay Weimar and donate non-perishable foods and toys, money, whatever they have. I got to put on my glasses because I'm getting old here. You know, Bus Jam, like I said, has been going on for 19 years. Excuse me, I'm having a little math issue and now fogging up. You know, over these 19 years, 8,500 children in our community have received toys for Christmas, which is just outstanding. Over 388,000 pounds of food have been collected and distributed to our local food banks. And, you know, you just can't say enough about what this small community does in such a big way. And, you know, we have challenges this year with 2020 and COVID and stuff, but because of that, our goal is 20,000 pounds of food and at least 2,000 new toys and gifts. And we got some great partners in the Rotary KDOC Bus Jam. We have Marler Appraisal Services, greatly appreciated, Banner Bank, of course Bimart, First Student Bus Company, South Coast Food Share, Orca, SWAC, and this year new to joining the team is U-Haul Corporation. They'll be transporting a lot of toys and food along with the bus company, so we're excited to be a part of that. Like I said, the trophy belongs to the city of Coos Bay right now. It is up to us to keep it here. And North Bend had it for a little while. There is a Bus Jam sign here. I'll show everybody, camera and counselors. And I'd be glad, I want to say with the challenges of 2020, you know, this weekend is the collection day, like I said, at both Bimarts. Then next Saturday is the distribution day, where the families that have registered come and do their shopping. And Rotary has done a lot of modifications to the system to be responsible in the era of COVID, and people, instead of lining up, first come, first serve, and going in, crowding, shopping, all this, we're doing it by appointment, and each family will be given a time limit, unfortunately, but we'll make sure they get what they need, and they'll be escorted by a Rotarian. We'll have gallons and gallons of hand sanitizer available for everybody, and this year we are pre-packaging the stocking stuffers so that as they exit, they'll just be given a bag. They'll tell us that if it's a female age 10, they'll get this bag. If it's a male age 12, they'll get this bag. And so Rotary and KDOC and all the teams involved will be socially responsible with the COVID situation. And I'd be glad to answer any questions for the council that you might have.
Steve, where does the distribution take place at?
Hey, that happens at the Boys and Girls Center, downstairs at the tennis courts. And we greatly appreciate the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club for letting us use their facility for, I think, about the last 4 years now.
Yeah,
And
it's been a
because we
lifesaver.
outgrew the other locations, and I think we found a home now, and it works really good. We have a one-way in, a one-way out, big parking lot, so it works out really good. Anybody else?
And what are the hours on Saturday for the event itself?
The event itself, like I said, is at Bimart. It's going to be 10 to 3 at both Bimarts.
But for Coos Bay donations, we need to go to the Coos Bay Bimart, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stein.
Full disclosure, Mr. Mayor and my fellow Rotarians, Stephen and Mr. Mayor, I must have had a little trouble turning over, I must have been torn turning over that trophy because it's been sitting at my office collecting dust. So technically, the city of Coos Bay has had it, it's just been in North Bend.
Yeah, it's been sitting on her desk, right?
Yeah, but the Rotary judge will probably fine her for that.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
$1 a day or something?
All right, well, I thank you for your time, and we will look forward to seeing each of you at Coos Bay Bimart Saturday morning.
Thanks,
you go.
Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Next, public comments can be from Daniel Fox. Daniel?
Greetings, councilmen and women and mayor. Thank you guys for giving me the floor tonight to speak and share with you. I'm a resident here in Coos Bay since about 2004. I've been on the coast here since '97, born and raised in Grants Pass, Oregon, so lifelong Oregonian. Love it here, but I'm coming to you this evening just as a representative of local small business owners. And I myself am a small business owner of Coastal Fitness Center here in Coos Bay. Many of you may have seen us in the news lately. We're probably going to be in the news again tomorrow morning. But I'm coming to you on behalf of small business owners who are really struggling right now in our community. And I've been in touch with Mayor Benetti, as well as our local Coos County commissioners and other officials, state representatives, just reaching out to try and see what we can do in the midst of this pandemic that we're all in the middle of here. Obviously, certain actions and paths have been decided for us at a state level that I know some of you may agree with. Myself, as well as many others, disagree with the path that has been taken, namely the statewide one-size-fits-all approach to the 2-week freeze, as well as many of the other restrictions imposed on businesses. And as a result of that, many businesses, my own business included in that, have really been struggling financially, hanging on by a thread. And if you've read what I submitted on social media, if you saw that, I don't know if any of you read that or were aware of that or not. Maybe a show of hands if you saw our article in the news. Anybody? It was in the Eugene News as well as local news. But we were interviewed and made the tough choice to stay open even during the 2-week freeze. And as a gym, as a fitness facility, we were mandated, of course, you must shut your doors. And I've got to say, for my business, we are on the brink of closing through this year, being closed for 2 full months. Earlier in the year when this whole pandemic started, we couldn't survive another shutdown. And we were told, of course, again, just 2 weeks, 2-week freeze could be extended. And we believe that it would be likely extended. Of course, now there's been a lot of pushback, and our state governor, thankfully, has changed her approach, coming out with this Thursday, as you know, the 4-tier different guidelines that will be applied county to county, which is better. But still, there's a lot of businesses I know locally. I've been in touch with 25 or so local restaurant owners and that are also really struggling financially to keep their doors open. And I just want to come to you as the council and the mayor of Coos Bay to just encourage you to continue to fight for the constituents of Coos Bay, to fight for the small business owners of Coos Bay. I believe that is the heartbeat of our community. Walmart isn't the heartbeat of our community. Some of these larger corporations, you've been watching in the news, I'm sure, but stocks for large corporations are higher than they've ever been before. And
Well,
go ahead.
Daniel, I mean, I can speak for myself and most. This council probably agrees that, I wasn't pleased how this last freeze came down. We were not informed, but, as I told you in our conversation or our text, that we were limited what we could and could not do. I feel for the small business. I was a small business owner myself. I see that going on. We've pushed hard, this council, to advocate for masks and being safe, to try to keep the numbers down, because if nothing else, whether you agree or you don't agree with the mask, we know, but keeping the numbers down, keep their businesses open. I don't know if you know, there's 25 states on the extreme that will not be opening or given the option to open. They can choose to do so, but against the governor's will. But the point being is we're one of 11 states that are going to be able to do that. I don't like us being in high risk. It still limits us to a degree, and a lot of the businesses to operate the way that they should be able to operate. Restaurants at 25% capacity is not even close to what they need to do. Right. 50% was not adequate, and so it makes it very difficult. I know myself, and I can tell you this council has fought for this and will continue to do so. And I told you there's a huge pushback to the governor, and I think that's why this metric system came out, and I'm glad to see it. It's a step in the right direction. Do I think that more needs to be done in that direction? Yes. And hopefully we can get there. But, you know, all I can say is I feel for you.
Yeah.
And if there's something that we can do, we've been looking to find a way to help infuse dollars into the small businesses. We're always looking at ways to do those things. Carmen took advantage and put an awning out front, well, not an awning, but a canopy, a structure that was utilized by Urban Renewal. We're advocating that other businesses do that type of thing that can help facilitate them, and not just now, but maybe further down the road.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor Benetti, and just encourage you that I know you say you're limited in your ability or your power to challenge or overturn what the governor has done on a state level. I would just encourage you in the power of your voice, and not just with the governor, but I would just encourage and plead with the council members that you let your voice be heard as per your conviction in regards to this, to let your voice be heard to the community and to small business owners. I think it would carry very far in encouraging them. I haven't seen a whole lot of public statement from this council or from you, Mayor Benetti, on these issues. I know that there's been some things said, but a strong statement would go a long way. I know other mayors, other cities and counties and sheriffs have made statements that I think really encourage those who are opposed to this this way of moving forward with COVID. And so I would just encourage you to continue to use your voice and fight for small business owners here locally. So thank you for your time.
you bet.
Any other questions or comments?
Comments from anyone else?
Stretch thought on that urban renewal idea. I wonder if we could use urban renewal try and lobby to be able to use urban renewal because there's restrictions on it, but if we could use it to help businesses, at least that are in the urban renewal zones, put outdoor shelters, tent systems. I know down in Fresno right now, the gyms, obviously Fresno's weather's better, but gyms are putting equipment outdoors. You would need some kind of overhead covering out here. But if that would be something we would be able to do.
Well, at the last meeting, Drew, this came up in discussion, not specifically what you stated, but similar. And Nate was looking into it, but I can tell you that it has to be something that is going to be sustained for like 5 years, I think he said.
Oh.
That's fairly permanent.
Pardon?
Okay.
Permanent.
Yeah, or permanent. So, you know, I was looking and hoping maybe that some of the businesses could be assisted with some filtration system and to help with the flows, which would help them control the virus and be able to allow them to have more seating or capacity because of the structures or those type of things. And Nate's going to get back to us on that,
Okay.
I think. So.
Cool.
Yeah, and just in closing comments, I just want to encourage the council that even though we have remained open during this freeze, we've been well under the metrics for what is coming out this Thursday.
Right.
We've been under 25% capacity and holding at that and implementing additional disinfecting protocols and all sorts of stuff like that. So just want to encourage the council, we're not totally rogue and trying to spread the virus. So we haven't had any cases traced back to our fitness facility through this whole pandemic. So thankful for that and hope that continues. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think it is worth mentioning too that CCD Business Development will be doing the grant program they are distributing for Coos County, and those applications open up on Monday. You're probably well aware of that, and many other business owners. But those are for businesses that were impacted and have been impacted, and I just wanted to make that note here. I think it's important that I think everybody's trying to get the word out, including, I think the city even put some stuff out, but I want to make sure that you're aware of that as well.
Okay, so are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed with the consent calendar?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Is there any other comments or discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Next item is a presentation on the city audit for fiscal year 2019-20. Polly Rogers, I presume she's on the, yeah, Tara is on there. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Can you hear and see me?
Yes.
Yeah, under circumstances, the best we could, I guess, yeah. It was a different Thanksgiving, I should say.
Definitely. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. Thank you for having me here this evening to present for the annual audit. My name is Tara Camp, and I'm an auditor with Polly Rogers and Company, and we are the financial statement auditors for the city. And so what I wanted to do is go over our audit results for the June 30, 2020 year. So along with the audit, we issue a letter called Communication to the Governing Body. And that is a nice little letter that summarizes everything we're required to communicate with you. So what I'll do is go over the letter, and then I can take any questions you may have. So on page 1 of the letter, we cover the purpose of the audit. And for the city, the purpose is twofold. We perform the financial statement audit, and that is where we test and assess the financial statements prepared by management in order to express an opinion. And secondly, we perform a compliance audit as dictated by the Oregon state law, Oregon municipal audit law. And that is where we're looking at a lot of compliance areas for the city requirements. And so on page 2, we cover the results of the audit. And the results for the city of Coos Bay are excellent. For the financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That is a clean opinion with no reservations. For the state minimum standards, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment except as noted on page 120 of the audit. We noted a couple clerical errors in budget resolutions, but it was nothing major. And lastly, we had no management letter issued. If we came across items in the audit that were considered significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control, processes and procedures, and financial accounting, we'd be required to communicate those with you, and we had none there. So very good overall. Further on in page 2, we note that we had no difficulties in dealing with management and performing and completing our audit. The City of Coos Bay's finance department is absolutely top-notch. They do a fantastic job in all of their work, and an audit is no small task. We put them to work in preparing everything that's needed for the audit. So I really want to thank Nicole and the entire finance office. Things were very different this year because we performed our audits remotely, and they were very flexible and provided us everything we needed electronically. We took up a lot of their time with lots of emails and phone calls and questions. So overall, the audit went very well, and they accommodated everything. And the fact that the audit was issued in the difficult year as it is, the audit was issued in November, that's another excellent thing that the city was able to accomplish, because it hasn't been easy for a lot of governments for sure. And then lastly, page 4 and 5, we cover some future accounting standards coming up. Those are just good to be aware of. We'll work with management to make sure those are implemented in a timely manner for future audits, but it will change some things in the report and possibly some disclosures and things like that. So overall, as you can see, excellent results, and I would be more than happy to take any questions if you have them.
Well, it's always good to have hear that we got excellent results and there was no issues, and we're very proud of what our financial department does and Nicole. So anyway, that's great. Council, questions for Tara?
Not at the moment.
No, just again, an appreciation for Nicole and for the team for all of the outstanding work they do on behalf of the city. Thank you.
I second
Thank
that.
All right, I guess that's it. Did you have anything else for us?
Nope, I think that's it. I'll just hang out in the background, and then I'll be back for the urban renewal meeting.
All right, well, thank you. We'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so number 7 is, let me get to there, is to consider Lockhart Avenue right-of-way vacation request. Jim, are you handling this?
Yes, sir.
You want to give us a little summary of what's happening, and then I'll open up the public comments, please.
Okay.
Well, the city received a right-of-way vacation request from Above All Property Management. They're the owner of 716 Southwest Boulevard. They would like to build a home on the site, and the additional acreage would benefit the residential development. The right-of-way request to be vacated is to the north between Vin West, which has the address of 1175 South 7th Street, and 716 Southwest Boulevard. The area is 117 feet long by 30 feet wide, and due to nearby topography, it's unlikely that this portion of the Lockhart Avenue right-of-way would be developed for street purposes. No staff opposition to the vacation, and the only utility that commented was the Pacific Power. They said they had some power lines in the area to be vacated, and they do not oppose the vacation, but advise that no building may encroach within 10 feet of the overhead lines. That concludes my report.
All right, any questions for Jim before I open the public comments or public hearing? All right, so I'm going to open the public hearing to consider Lockhart Avenue right-of-way vacation request. If you have a comment, this would be the time to do so. Just come forth and give us a comment. Any comments on this? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And council, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to enact the ordinance to vacate the right-of-way of a section of Lockhart Avenue adjacent to the boundary of the lot at 716 Southwest Boulevard.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Lockhart Avenue right-of-way vacation request. Melissa, would you do the roll call, please?
Thank you. An ordinance providing for the vacation of a portion of Lockhart Avenue located west of South 7th Street and east of South 10th Street, found in Section 34, Township 25, Range 13, west of the Willamette Meridian, Coos County, Oregon. Counselor DeNovo?
Aye.
Counselor Farmer?
Aye.
Counselor Kilmer?
Aye.
Counselor Marlar?
Aye.
Counselor Matthews?
Aye.
Counselor Miles?
Aye.
Mayor Benetti?
Aye.
Ordinance number 533 has been duly enacted.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, approval of intergovernmental agreement with CENT. Chief, are you going to be handling this? Oh, yeah, here you are. It's hard to look around sometimes, see you down there.
I can. Thank you, Mayor and council members. What we're looking for tonight is obviously, I believe I included both the original CENT agreement from 1988. It had an amended addendum added in '94, but we've been, as the law enforcement agencies and CENT have been operating under this agreement for many years. We've made a couple attempts in the past to get it renewed and refreshed. As chairpersons and different people changes, then it got kind of set by the side. And so Sheriff Zanny, who's the chairperson of the CENT Executive Committee now, sat down with Paul Frazier and the chiefs and kind of went through it and revised it and updated it. So this is the new agreement that we're looking at to operate under, and we're just requesting that the approval from each of the councils of the cities, as well as the two tribal police departments and their governance. So I don't know if there's any questions that may have come up when you were reviewing it.
So what's the cost to us on this, or what's our obligation? I mean, we supply one officer. I know that it's been changing over the years, and if I understand correctly, at one point, we were really the only one that was carrying the burden on this. Am I correct?
For the most part, yes. The sheriff's office has always contributed something, whether it's a detective or they were the, had members that were the director of it for several years. For the past several years, it's been operating kind of at a minimal level as far as staffing goes. The city of Coos Bay has contributed personnel throughout the history of CENT, at least, one detective, sometimes two, depending on where our staffing levels are at. For the past probably 8+ years, Captain Mitz has been the acting director of Scent, and that's been our contribution, as well as, you know, when we're able, we'll send a detective over to assist in some of their investigations. We've assisted in many numerous operations, as most of the agencies in the county have on a need basis. Most recently, the city of Coos Bay as well as Curry County have contributed monetarily on an annual basis of $25,000 to basically keep the operation going, to cover some of the costs that are incurred, whether it's facilities, maintenance on vehicles. That's kind of where that money's directed towards.
So are we the only two that participate financially in this?
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that the Cocoa Tribe also provides in-kind services by providing property.
Which tribe, Roger?
The Cocoa Tribe.
Great, thank you. I was going to correct you. Mr.
So,
Mayor.
and it also said, so I didn't think that forfeitures were allowed anymore. Is that, but it states it in here. Is that correct? I mean,
On a limited basis.
A limited basis. There's a portion of it that comes back, and it all basically goes, if it's state forfeitures, it'll go to the state where it's divvied up, and I can't remember the exact amounts, but a portion of it goes towards rehabilitation
Right.
and some other things, and a portion of it does come back to the entity that worked the investigation, and so there is some money that comes back in on forfeitures.
before this, because the law was changed, right? But it was self-sustaining basically at one point before the law changed, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important. There's no doubt about it. And it's just that I would hope. I also read in here, I'm jumping around. I read in here also that the county would be reimbursed for any cost if they had any manpower. Did I read that correctly? In here? And I'm trying to go through it. Of course, I should have marked it when I did that. But and I think it also said any of the other entities also would be reimbursed if some of the manpower was utilized, but I don't know.
I think that's wishful thinking in some cases because there just isn't enough resources. The county does receive some administrative reimbursement for oversight, although they have forgone that or that hasn't been paid at least the last year or more.
Probably
Last 2 years. So in essence, they're contributing some in-kind service as well, besides a deputy,
Okay.
or excuse me, a detective.
In
Did
the
Nate
past, there's also been some reimbursement for overtime costs that were grant funded, but grants are very difficult to come up with at this time. So.
Okay. Did Nate look this over by any chance, or?
Yes.
I did. Look fine for what it is.
Is there a clause that we can withdraw if, for some reason?
I'm sure there's a
30 days.
provision for withdrawing
Okay.
BPO or any of the entities if they really
Right.
want to.
Yes.
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen because it's definitely something needed, I believe, and it's important. Council, comments, questions?
Memory support. For the civil forfeitures, that still has a 2-year delay for it to make it back to the agency, if I recall, doesn't it?
It's a period of time. I don't know exactly what the time frame is, but it does take time to run it, get it through the courts and through that process until those funds do make it back to the Scent team.
Yeah, so it results in kind of a staggered books.
Anyone else? So that being the case, if there's no other questions or comments, how would the council like to proceed?
I'll move to approve the IGA with Scent and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the IGA with Scent. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Number 9, approval of transition support services contract with Water Dude Solutions for development of transition plan for the city managed operations and maintenance of the collection system. Jim?
Yes, I'll
Before you
take
get
this.
started, you and Jacob came to terms, right?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm just hoping, I guess. Wishful thinking.
We do have a meeting with Efrain next week.
Okay.
So at the October 27th work session, staff presented the operations and maintenance wastewater contractors, that is Jacobs, amendment for the current fiscal year, that is FYE 2021. Due to the significant increase in the contractor's fee and the fact that the city has been investigating taking over responsibility of operations and maintenance of the sewer system, council directed staff to prepare a transition plan for the collection portion of the sewer system. Council felt that Jacobs might be more successful in operating and managing the treatment portion of the system without the added responsibility of the collection system. Mr. Mark Walter of Water Dude Solutions presented the draft transition plan for council's consideration at the last week's work session. The plan included staffing, budget estimations, and transition support. Should council want to pursue this plan, the goal will be to formally take over the responsibility of operations and maintenance of the collection system on July 1st, 2021. Staff is recommending that council also approve a $75,000 contingency should negotiations not be successful with Jacobs regarding their scope and fee for Amendment 3 for the fiscal year ending 2021. The contingency would cover transition support to either take over the operations and operations and management of the treatment plants or assist the city with hiring another operations and maintenance contractor. Should the council decide to implement the transition plan for the collection system, staff is requesting that you approve the transition support services contract with Water Dude Solutions for a cost of $98,840 with that $75,000 contingency for a total of $173,840. That concludes my report, and Jennifer's on the line if you have any technical questions.
Well, the 75,000 contingency is, it's quite high, but the reason for the contingency is, if I understand correctly, in case we have to move forward with taking over the the wastewater, 2 plants, am I correct?
That's correct.
So if this happened, the total amount would be 173 for the total system.
That's correct.
The treatment plants and the collection systems.
That's correct.
So, and I know you'll be meeting with Jacobs. So just a curiosity, I forgot, how much does Jacobs charge for their management fee? What percentage?
It's 18%.
18%. Okay. So are they, they're in their discussions, and this didn't come up, are they planning on increasing their percentage on maintenance fee on top of the 30%? Or is that, are they increasing that by 30% too?
No, it automatically goes up when they increase their cost for services.
Right, they get the 18% on top.
That percentage
Right.
goes up as well.
So it's kind of a double thing, so it's really going to be, it's the 18% of whatever we're paying now would be almost compounded with the increase of the 30%, correct?
That's correct.
And that would also be retroactive?
Yeah, of course.
That's what they're requesting at this point in time. As I shared with the council via an email, our contract has provisions that they're supposed to be providing us budgetary numbers for the next budget year. But we didn't get that for the last 2 years at least. In fact, we began talking about Amendment 3 and you hadn't approved Amendment 2 and we were almost near the end of the budget year.
Right.
It's difficult for staff to properly budget and forecast for future years when we don't get the numbers on time. And then now we're in this position of we're nearly halfway through the budget year and we have a proposed amendment before you that accounts for 30% or more than 30%. Traditionally, those percentages haven't been over CPI or I think average 3% or less.
Right.
So how do we budget for those things? And how do we properly forecast revenue expenses? How do we look at what needs to happen as far as rate increases if required? to actually operate that utility. You can't. I realize that what we're requesting here is a fair amount of money. $178,000 is a lot of money. But in reality, compared to the rate increase, it's small, because they're asking for more than $550,000 just for this year, retroactively.
So, first of all, they're in violation of their agreement, but as we know, they have a 90-day clause to get out. So my other question would be, if they opt on the 90-day clause, are we in a position to take over in 90 days?
I don't believe so. I think we need the 180 days.
Well, what if they don't give it to us, though? They're not obligated to, am I correct?
They're not obligated to, although they have been consistent with their message that they will work with us on a transition plan.
Well, I know, but how much faith, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith with the last discussion we had with Jacobs and what they told us, and I mean, their rhetoric, not rhetoric, their comments were not very good, I should say, in saying they're going to go retroactive on cost. I mean, no one does business this way. They're a large, huge firm, I understand. I did a little research. I didn't realize how large a firm they are. Probably one of the largest, if not the largest firm in the world on engineering. Yeah, they're very large. And so I think Coos Bay is just a small part of their operation. And so I'm just fearful that we might be caught in an awkward situation, I guess.
Yeah, I think one should look at what's happening in other areas of this state. There are other cities who have chosen to take the path that you are considering at this point in time. Sweet Home, Lebanon, City of Sandy, there's another city in Washington. I have not heard where they abruptly left. They actually went through a transition program.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we would see the same. I know that they don't want to make their reputation worse. They have a large number of customers throughout Oregon and the western United States. This was the home of where that company actually got a start before it was bought out several times.
Yeah, it was a totally different company than what exists today. Anyway.
I'm just curious, Roger, did you receive the presentation that Efren gave to us?
We do have it.
Okay, that's good.
And I know that our engineer has tried to evaluate it, but the reality, there's just not a lot of meat in the presentation to evaluate. I think staff would disagree that there's been a change of scope. I think we're just trying to get them to do the work that we've always, that one time we were getting, and that they've been charging us for.
So the other question I have is, if the clauses in the contract state that we have to have things by certain dates, and then here we are, into the next fiscal year, doesn't that violate their contract? I mean, don't we have some standing in this?
Well, I think that was the issue that came up just about a year ago, is that we felt that they were in breach of their contract. And this is not the first time we felt that they were in breach. And part of your direction about a year ago was go back to the negotiations table and let's negotiate some teeth into the contract. What do we get when they don't fulfill their contract? And so we were trying to build in some basic liquidated damages. The more that discussion went on, some of it was put into the new proposed contract language, but some of that escalated the cost. And what we were hearing was, well, that increases our risk, so therefore we need to increase our agreement. And it's very difficult for those of us on this side of the table to digest that when we're saying, well, we're not asking you for any more risk, we're just asking you to do what you're already charging us for.
Well, and the other comment that I was going to make then also is, in my simplified logic, if someone has not given us the data to be able to budget for it, and that's the reason that it's in the contract, then I don't see any way possible for them to go retroactive prior to this fiscal year.
Well, we're fortunate, and of course I'll leave the legal wrangling to our attorney, but we do have contract language that basically says if we can't agree, then there is a fallback position, and that is the CPI. Although I will tell you that we could take that course of action, I am fearful that if that were to happen, we would probably see the 90-day exit. So I think we, if we're moving forwards to a change in operators, whether it be us or someone else, I think we have to be careful.
I understand that. That makes
So
sense.
that's why we have the contingency in here, just in case that does happen, and we do have to run the plant title.
So this basically is just giving you direction to move without having to come back to the council.
That's correct, 'cause we believe time is of the essence.
Yep, I
I
agree.
would say
I
so.
would agree.
Do you think it's possible that you could get the CPI for the retroactive part and then the 30% for the rest of the year?
I believe that is one of the strategies we'll attempt.
Other comments on this?
I have lots, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
I know, it could be a long discussion, and until they can sit down with Jacobs and see where it finally ends, I think, we don't know, but I think that we're gonna end up moving forward and taking over the whole operation. I see it. Whether we do it now or later, I think it's just a matter of time.
For planning purposes, what is the plan that we could do in 180 days to take over relative to 90 days? What are the thoughts there?
Well, in the draft, I don't know if you got a chance, last, on the work session, they had a draft transition of how the 180 days would work for the collection system.
Yeah.
So
Only
that's
the
what we're
collection system.
approving here. And
Right.
so to try to, I think what Jim would say, to try, that's why I was asking if we could do it in 90 days. To try to do it in 90 days for the wastewater treatment facility might be a little difficult.
Right.
So,
The 180, because of a lot of what needs to be in place for the collection system is similar what needs to be in place for the maintenance of the treatment system. And then, but there's still that much more work necessary for both, doing both. But either case, we need the 6 months.
So if you need 6 months, then, I mean, that's coming up end of December, then you would need direction from this council to implement that plan beginning January 1, so you'd have your 6 months. Am I hearing that correct?
You are.
So is this coming back to us for a decision by the end of the month?
I think you'll know probably the beginning of next month if we're successful. And I'm sure that we'll have a fairly good idea based off of discussions next week, if there's any hope.
Okay.
and I think, Phil, at the work session, I guess we can do it formally now, but I don't think any of us agreed to pay the 30% retroactive. And so
Oh, no.
that was
No.
pretty, and so unless staff can come to an agreement with Jacobs, which didn't seem to be the case at our work session, of the 30% only being from this point on for discussion purposes, I think it's a moot point. I think we could just say if they don't come, we could give staff approval now if you want, but.
Well, unless something just dramatically different than what I'm seeing and hearing right now happens, I'm okay with the transition and the city taking over the entire system.
So if you want in the action item, you could approve the fee and make that, add that to it.
I guess I'd like to hear what Jacobs is gonna say next week, but I'm not very optimistic that they're gonna change my mind.
That's my concern, is
Yeah.
that Jacobs has not met, Ephraim didn't have the ranking to be able to have that discussion. He could have that discussion, but he had to go back to people who are higher up, and I think we need to give them that opportunity to meet with our staff. I don't have a problem, with giving our staff the ability to move forward if necessary, but I think we need to at least have that meeting with them. Our staff needs to meet with them. And, for the public that's looking at this, obviously wastewater is a hot topic for the city of Coos Bay. And if you want to see the discussion that happened, that meeting is available online as well.
So,
I'm just concerned that we're running out of time.
yeah.
If we need 6 months, 6 months is almost upon us.
So is the 15th, you'll have some information back by the 15th, correct? The council?
I think we'll have an inkling of which direction they're going if there's any hope.
Okay.
And we can give you our assessment based off our next meeting.
Okay.
All right.
So we might
And
as
we
well
could have
just,
a special meeting if need be, right, Roger?
We could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, does this 75,000, would that cover a draft transition plan for the treatment too?
That's correct, that's what that's for.
How long would that take, do you anticipate?
Well, it would, maybe Jennifer knows in her discussions with Mark, but it's all part of that moving forward. I mean, there's the initial portion that is used for both transitions. And so I'm going to guess another 3 months probably if we add the transition to the wastewater treatment plants.
He's probably already got one toe in the water on that already.
Memory check on one thing, because I have been away for a little while. Part of the negotiations with them was an expectation that they provide us a budget each year, and they had declined that. Was that correct? I thought that was one of the expectations we had put
I'm
forward.
not sure that's exactly it. They're already required to provide us a budget in our proposed amendment.
Yeah.
We do know that we were having a difficult time getting at least capital improvement budgets out of them and having them actually follow anything. Or, as you may recall, we had to make a last-minute approval because they had overexpended and didn't know it.
We were trying to add, I think, punitive if they didn't meet the time.
That's correct.
We were successful in some areas and unsuccessful in others in
Yeah.
trying to provide that teeth so that we could realistically expect to get the services that the citizens are paying for.
This might just be me being less diplomatic than Lucinda, but a multinational company that doesn't feel it needs to be accountable for providing us a budget. Yeah, I like the idea of planning for transition.
yeah.
So my question is, can we change this to say just proceed with having Water Dude put together that plan instead of just having the contingency? Or do we need to, is this enough for you just to go forth and get it done? Because I think it's pretty clear, based on, all the conversations we've had, that we're going to end up here at some point.
If you were going to ask me my opinion, I believe you will end up at a point where we have to make a transition. If you don't agree to the 30% this year, I'm assuming then there'll be an elevated additional cost for next year. By the way, we should have that
Right.
cost here in a few days, but we won't. So I believe at some point in time we will. I think, though, from a management purpose, our side, I would tell you to prove it as we do it now and leave the contingency. I mean, maybe there's some miracle and they don't want to lose any more business in Oregon. And they want to keep us, and they're going to come to the table and actually negotiate something that will be fair. Then I'd rather not spend that $75,000. We could spend that on a capital improvement project that we need.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, I'm hoping with their culture of caring that they talked about at the last work session, that they're going to care enough to fix this problem, since Drew and the mayor pointed out that this is one of the largest companies doing this type of work, and we're just little old Coos Bay, so.
Okay, so council, how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve the transition support service contract with Water Dude Solutions for $98,840 with a $75,000 contingency for a total of $173,840.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the transition support services contract for a total of $173,840. Any other comments, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. City manager's report. Roger?
Well, we're talking about budget, so let's just stay online. I'm very proud of our staff, and I think our finance director would be the first to tell you, or the first to say, it's not just her team, but it's all the management staff that work together to make this all work. But they do a commendable job, and we're very impressed with and happy with our finance team. And while you just received an audit, which is the culmination of last year's budget, I have to tell you that there's no rest. Staff is gearing up and will be kicking off putting the proposed budget together for this next budget year, and that's going to start this month. And once we get that proposed budget put together, then we'll be bringing it back to the Budget Committee in April for consideration. So just as one year ends, then the next year begins. And somewhere in between that, we'll be doing, there'll be a portion of the audit on this year that starts in the spring. And then again, in the fall, they'll be doing the field work to see if we're in compliance and how we're doing. So my hat's off. I think we have a great finance team. We have great administrators over there that are doing a phenomenal job. As to projects, I'm happy to say that the Safe Routes for School project is heading towards the finish line. That project is scheduled to be completed this month. If you've gone over to East Side, you can, it's easy to see as you come around the corner from the bridge, all the sidewalk that runs up both sides of that street. What a huge improvement that will be for any kids that are walking to either Milne or the East Side Elementary. Work is now transitioning over onto D Street, and a lot of that, portions of that have already been worked on, so it's going well. South 4th Street is not going as quickly as that project, but it is a much bigger project, even though it's not as, the length is not the same, the scope is totally different. You can visibly see progress on 4th Street. Much of the sidewalk on the west side of the street has been replaced, and work is beginning on the east side. Work will continue throughout the winter as the weather cooperates. At some point in time, it won't cooperate and work will stop. While a lot has been done, I would tell you you're only 25% into the project. The bulk of the project will come after those sidewalks have been replaced. It's when the road gets completely removed and a new road bed and road surface gets put back in. Coos Bay Village, things continue to move there. In addition to the new building that they're building against the waterfront, I'm happy to tell you that the intersection is moving forward. Intersection project designs were completed, and miraculously they were approved by ODOT, ODOT Rail, the port, the developer, and the city. Those plans have all gone out. We have an agreement between the partners on that intersection. Those plans were sent out to bid. Bids were opened and a bid has been awarded. That project will probably take 6 or more months to complete. Now that's just the intersection itself. The other component of that is the rail crossing. Like the other project, part of that project design, that's design's been completed and approved by all of those involved, and it's gone out for bid advertisement, and we are expecting that the bids will be opened later this month. So things are progressing. That's an important milestone to get that done, because while they can still build more buildings, they can't occupy them until that intersection is done, because you need that capacity for the traffic.
Does that include the railroad crossing too?
Yes, the rail crossing, yes.
In addition to the intersection?
Correct, and the rail crossing is getting bid this month, so.
So, I'm sorry, just so I'm clear, does that mean we think all of it will be done by April? Is that what I just heard?
6 months, I think you're probably going to be looking a little bit longer. One of the reasons it's taking so long is some of the components are 6 months out from the time you order them.
Okay.
I think the rail crossing might be a little quicker. I think it's the crossing arms for the new signal system.
Okay, thank you.
And I have lots of information on various projects, and I tell you that there are a ton of projects going on, but things are moving forward, and we're happy. So,
Great.
Concludes my report.
Thanks, Roger. Council comment. Rob?
First, I want to commend Nicole and the finance staff on their audit. I know how much work it is for staff to do and to be involved in an audit, and so I just wanted to commend you. I also want to congratulate the short-timer Chief McCullough on 25 years service, I think is what I saw. And lastly, one more reminder that the Community Coalition of Empire will be having their virtual tree lighting this Friday. It starts, I believe, around 3 o'clock. The fire department will be transporting Santa around the Empire neighborhoods. And then I think 5:30 or 6 o'clock, somewhere around there, Santa will be lighting the tree right there by Star of Hope. I think the link is on the Community Coalition of Empire's Facebook page. And that's all I have.
Great, thanks. Stephanie?
Just want to thank the community for a very successful Shop Small Saturday Santa arrival event. It was a no-contact, socially distanced event, and I think it turned out beautifully. Very appreciated by people who all year long have had things canceled, and I really commend the Coos Bay Downtown Association for trying to keep this going in a manner that would meet the criteria. We lit the tree on Saturday, and boy, it was spectacular, and it's a beautiful tree. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said how pretty that tree was. The Downtown Association has kicked off their marketing and plans to get foot traffic into downtown businesses that are open, and that includes the Reindeer Roundup. I would encourage you to go over to the Coos Bay Downtown Association's Facebook page and learn more about that event. They have a basket of merchandise and certificates that's valued at over $400 that they'll be giving away on the 23rd. And it's a fun way to, visit a business, find out what those products and services are, find Santa's stray reindeer, get them back together so that we can send them up to deliver the toys on the 25th, and support local businesses too. And that runs, it kicked off Monday and runs through the 21st. I was going to mention the Empire Coalition. We appreciate all that they do to serve that community, and again, another real creative way to reach the children and make an event happen. Very excited for that. And then finally, of course, I am a big advocate of the bus jam. It was amazing that it started as a toy drive with one bus almost 20 years ago, and we fill 6 buses in Coos County. And we delivered over 60,000 pounds of food that is put back into our communities. It is a signature event for this community. There are still people that don't know about it, but it does make a difference. And I just spoke to a woman on the phone today who couldn't get her registration figured out, and she said it's just such a stressful time. And it's nice that the community does this, and so I appreciate everyone that supports that event. It'll be a little different because we're working with Coos Health and Wellness to try and make this a COVID-safe event, not only for the distribution that'll happen the following week, but for this weekend as well. So there's limited people on site and other measures that are taking place, but we appreciate any donations that are made. And one thing I did want to mention on that, if people don't want to shop and they just want to give money to, we can buy 7 pounds of food for $1 through the state. So you can make a cash contribution or a check made out to the Rotary, or the Coos Rotary Foundation, which is tax deductible, and make an impact that way. We have some folks, some kids that are going to shop for us the following week to fill in the areas that are needed. So we'll accept donations as well. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thanks. Lucinda?
I too wanted to congratulate Chief McCullough on 25 years. Thank you very much for your service. And then I wanted to ask Roger, and I might be jumping the gun, goal setting session. Are we doing that this next year? Is that the plan?
If we keep on schedule, we should be doing it this next spring.
Okay, wonderful. So that is on the list. Okay. That's all I have.
All right, Phil.
I just want to say, I know we're all aware of how many small businesses, thank you, Mr. Fox, for coming and reminding us, we have in this community, and they depend on us to shop local, to support them locally. There's lots of restaurants that are still doing takeout just because that's all they can do. And it's nice that we can support them in any way we can. Shopping, I know the mayor has put it on his Facebook page, a number of places, reminding people of what we have available to us that we should take advantage of. We have some wonderful business owners in town. I second what Stephanie said about Bus Jam. I've been around here for a long time, and I remember when Bus Jam started, but only in the last few years have I become so intimately aware of what a need it fills in this community, and this year especially, because of we have so many people that are suffering and that really need some help. And I thank you for all you do for that.
Oh, absolutely. And just a note, in the first 5 days that registration opened, 250 families, not individuals, but families registered, and it's open for another few days, so
Yeah.
definitely a great need this year.
I would also be remiss if I didn't recognize Seven Devils Brewery for this past week providing meals for foster families for Thanksgiving. That was a huge step up. And you know, the little things like that we can all do in the community to help each other. We need to continue to do that. That's all I have.
Thanks. Carmen.
Well, the farther we get down the line, all the good stuff gets taken. So I'm going to sound a little bit like a repeater here, but first off, I want to congratulate all our newly sworn-in city councilors. Congratulations. Good to have you back. It's been an honor to serve with you, and I look forward to the next few years that we have together. I'd also like to say thank you to the finance department. Once again, glowing reviews. That's got to feel good. I know it feels good from up here, and yeah, we just thank you so much for doing everything right and making sure everything is very clear for our citizens to see if they have any questions. So thank you. Also want to congratulate Chief McCullough and thank you for all the years of service. You've been a great friend and an amazing chief to work with as a community member, but also as a city councilor. So thank you. Also wanted to encourage everybody to participate in the bus jam. That's always, well, let's hammer that home today. Like, I think that's a huge need. And like Phil was saying, that this year is kind of exceptional in the amount of need that our community has at the moment. So let's think about others as best we can and try to see if we can support each other locally as much as possible. And one way to do that is, of course, supporting small businesses in various forms as well. I know, since we are talking about small businesses, I just wanted to once again remind everybody there's a lot of funding options out there. There's another $55 million that just came out that Councilor Kilmer was mentioning. I'm going to be looking at that myself as a small business owner. Lots of community support has been apparent throughout this entire pandemic, and it's come in various forms, whether it's people buying gift certificates or supporting in ways that they haven't done before, or just hopefully keeping memberships up to date even though we aren't able to use services. I find a lot of people have been doing that with us, and I hope that is not unique. I hope a lot of people are experiencing that. I would also say it's time to get creative as a small business in our community, and you got to pivot when the regulations change, and I've seen a lot of that happening. And I know it's tough, but we just got to continue to pivot and figure out ways to survive. And so I implore you to stay strong, stay healthy, and to help us find ways in which we can help. We all want to help however we can. There's obviously legal guidelines in which ways we can do that help, but I know that we've all talked about it individually. What are the ways that we could help support people through grants, through the facade improvement grants? You know, I'm trying myself just to see how it works, and so get creative if you can, and hang in there. We're all in this together. That's all I got.
Thanks, Carmen. Drew?
Congratulations to Nicole and staff. Audits are always an adventure. And congratulations to the short timer on the end there. I wanted to encourage folks to sign up, put in an application for the homeless committee. Those applications are due by 5 p.m. on 4th, so we're getting close to the deadline there, but it's a chance to be involved in helping us help our neighbors. That's who's out on the street, or our neighbors. Also, related to the issues of small businesses right now, and finding ways to address their struggles. I'd encourage everybody to look at who they are represented by on the Oregon legislature, or folks that are on the legislature in other regions, or folks that are going to be getting on the legislature. You can locate who is your representative at www.oregonlegislature.gov. There's a page for the House, page for the State Senate, and that'll have contact information for all the folks throughout the state. I was typing kind of quickly towards the start of this, trying to think on what I can push for, what I can do. As I mentioned before, I'm on the board for the League of Oregon Cities, on the executive board, so we have access through that to lobbyists who try and push for what's good for cities. They do that in Salem for us. So I think the two things I'm going to bring up to them, I've got a meeting with them later this week, bring up if there would be any way we could work with the legislature to put more funding into urban renewal rulage. The way those were designed was to abate blight, so I'm going to see if there's anything that could be conceived of that would help prevent blight, because that's what will happen when businesses go under. And then see if there's an avenue in the relief funding for, restaurants, other businesses that are doing deliveries right now as a way to stay afloat. If there would be any relief funding to fund those businesses to hire delivery drivers. It puts somebody back in work, and it keeps the small business afloat. Those are the two things I'll be pushing for, and I invite everybody else to think up two things themselves and spam email the rest of the Oregon legislature. That's all I got.
Thanks, Drew. I'll chime in on the finance department doing a wonderful job. I know Nicole passes it on to the finance department as a whole, but I can tell you she does an excellent job as being the finance director. I've seen her come in here at 6 o'clock in the morning on many a time before anybody else. And the only reason I know that because I'm up walking early. So anyway, I could see her come up the stairs doing that. Also, Chief, it's been a pleasure for 25 years. I know you're going to be hanging around a little bit in the handoff, I believe, and so we'll be seeing you around, right?
Yes.
You're not going to just leave us high and dry, right? Of course not. The other thing I want to mention is that, we talked about 4th Street not proceeding as fast, but there's a lot of other streets going on. I don't know if you've seen, but by O'Reilly's, that street got done. I've heard compliments about it already. There are things that are moving quickly. This 4th Street's just a large project. Since we're on 4th Street, I've had many comments about the grade being lower on the sidewalks, and everyone's concerned that there's a problem. Please tell me that they're just going to lower the street and match the grade, right?
They're going to lower the street, and there'll be a crown to it.
Okay.
So
All right, I thought so, but
There's a lot of overlays that have happened over the years.
yeah, I know, I can see that, so.
You can look at it.
Yeah, a lot of people are concerned that there's a mistake going on there, right? And that it'll have to be redone. So anyway, the other thing it's something that was in our consent calendar is the library got a $7,000 grant. I just want to chime out and let them know that happened. It's for 200 children in the program, and it's going to be to provide books from 0 to 5. So I think that's wonderful. The libraries and the rest of the staff always do a wonderful job in trying to do things for the community that I don't think we always realize. The tree lighting was a success. I was there. People stayed in their cars. They did distancing, but they did have a good representation there, and it was nice to see. The drive-by Santa thing was somewhat supported, and then right at the end, Stephanie told me that everyone decided to come at the end, and then they had trouble transitioning over to the tree lighting, right, Stephanie? But anyway, it happened, and it was great. So I want to also talk about the new metric system coming out that's going to be on the 3rd and opening up. I know it's a step in the right direction. It's not where we want to be by any means, as Mr. Fox has pointed out, but it's at least a step in the right direction. I can tell you that we're one of 11 states that are going to be able to open up on the 3rd. Counties, sorry. One of 11 counties. There's 25 that will not be there. I do not want this county being in the extreme. I can't emphasize enough that we need to be cautious in this county to keep the small businesses open. If nothing else, we need to keep the numbers down. I would like to see moving into moderate and low, which means more percentages that these businesses are able to do. We need to support them, and by doing that, we need to keep the numbers down. That's the best way that we can help, besides the other things that have been mentioned by the other counselors. So we need to wear masks, keep social distancing, try to follow those guidelines. Whether we agree with the mask or we don't agree with the mask, I can tell you that will keep the numbers down, and by keeping the numbers down, keep the businesses open. I can't emphasize that enough. We as a city have masks available. We have sanitizer available for everyone. The fire department has them if you need them. SoWeb has them also if you need them. If you need to get some as a business, let me know. I'll make sure and I'll personally deliver them to you. We can handle this, but we need to work together and do this. So please, let's keep that in mind for our businesses. And I want to end on a good note. The bus jam has been successful all these years and been an advocate for it. And so Stephanie's been wonderful, and Rotary. So let's all support it. And I'll end that with my comments. We'll go into our urban renewal. And Stephanie, who's going to handle the election of that officer, myself or somebody else? Or
I can start out.
Okay. So we'll adjourn the city council meeting officially.
And our past chair should go ahead and open our meeting.
Okay, then I will go ahead and convene the meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency. And our first item on the agenda is the election of agency officers.
So I get the pleasure of opening the nominations, the floor for nominations for chair of the Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to elect Councilor Kilmer.
Second.
There's a nomination and second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of Councilor Kramer continuing to act as chair. Kilmer, excuse me. Please say aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor of Counselor Kramer.
My sincere apologies, Stephanie.
I'm just happy that we're not going to have an executive session about the performance of the city manager.
There you go.
Okay, so moved. So I will turn the meeting back over to you for the election of the other two officers.
Okay, so continuing on with that, we need to, I guess I should put my glasses on here. I will open up for nominations for vice chair of the Urban Renewal Agency.
Who's our current vice chair?
Who's the current?
I think it's Drew.
That's me.
No, I would like to nominate Drew Farmer for the vice chair of our Urban Renewal
Second.
Agency. There you go.
That was a quick second. Any discussion? Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And now we'll open and take nominations for secretary.
Is that
Lucinda, isn't it?
It is.
Who's our current secretary?
I got the easy
I'll
job.
nominate
Would you like to
Lucinda.
do it?
Lucinda?
I think Lucinda,
I'll make the motion, or I'd like to nominate Lucinda DeNovo for secretary.
Second.
all right, we have a nomination for Lucinda to take on the secretary position of the Urban Renewal Agency. Any other nominations? Since we have none, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
No treasurer?
Yeah.
We got
Nicole is the
for
treasurer.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Who
we'll
wants it?
open it up for, I guess I'll just go ahead and continue on with the meeting, if that's all right?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna, item number 2 is the public comments. Do we have any comments from the public? Then we will move to item 3, which is the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the presentation of the City of Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency audit for fiscal year 2019-2020 by our auditor, and here she is again, Tara.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow Board of Directors of the Urban Renewal Agency. As you know, I'm Tara Camp and an auditor with Polly Rogerson Company, and we perform the annual financial statement for the Urban Renewal Agency. And so what I'll do, similar to the cities, is just go over the communication to the governing body letter, and I can take any questions. So similar to the city, on page 1, we cover the purpose of the audit. And for the Urban Renewal Agency, we audit the financial statements to determine if they're fairly stated. And we also perform the compliance audit as required by Oregon minimum standards. And on page 2, we cover the results of the audit for the agency, and the results are excellent. For the financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and that's a clean opinion with no reservations. For the state minimum standards compliance audit, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment except as noted on page 46 of the Urban Renewal Report, and that was just some clerical errors on the budget resolutions. And lastly, we had no management letter issued. If there were issues for the audit for internal control or processes and procedures or financial statement errors, we would let you know in a management letter. So overall, very clean results. And obviously similar to the city, because we conduct these audits simultaneously, we had no difficulties in dealing with management for our audit. And the city staff who handles the agency books as well as the city does a fantastic job and is highly professional, provides us with everything we need, and really did a great job this year in the year of COVID to accommodate our remote audit. So I want to thank everybody there for that as well. And then lastly, in our letter, we cover some future accounting standards coming out, which is good to be aware of, that things might change slightly in the reporting, but we'll work with management to make sure those are implemented in the future. So overall, excellent results. And if anyone has any questions, I can take them.
Are there any questions for Tara? I knew I'd get an opportunity to say my congratulations to our staff for an excellent report. It's so important in the checks and balance, and we appreciate that you put this audit together for us, and also that our staff is so highly commended. So we need to take action on this and accept the fiscal year audit. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2019-20 audit.
Second?
Second?
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to accept the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit for the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Coos Bay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again for your time, Tara, coming tonight to give us this report. And thank you.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. Yes, thank you so much. And everyone have a very good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. At least when she froze up there on the screen, she looks very pretty. Mine aren't always that gracious looking. All right, approval of the facade improvement grant for 247 South 2nd Street. That is the Seven Devils Brewery.
I would want to just start out and put it on the record that just as Counselor has already said, he is the owner of Seven Devils Brewery, and thus Carmen will not be participating from this since he has an actual conflict of interest.
Does it have to be removed from the
We
dais?
should.
Yeah.
Don't miss that step over there that I always miss. And Jim, are you going to take this?
Well, it looks like Carolyn's on board, so.
Oh, Carolyn. Hi,
Hi, Carolyn.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good.
Fine, thank you.
Seven Devils Brewery Company is requesting a facade improvement grant for half of the cost of improvements of $23,682. That would be coming out of the 2021 fiscal year budget. The funds would be used to construct a patio cover on the south side of the brewery, and it would definitely provide some shelter for outdoor dining, for rain and sun protection, as well as an architectural enhancement to the site of the building. I think that at your last work session, you may have seen a PowerPoint of this, but I can tell you it's really quite attractive. So the 50-50 grant match would mean that the improvement cost to Seven Devils Brewing Company would be $11,841, and the grant itself would be $11,841. So with that, we would like to recommend that the board provide an affirmative action to make this money available for this project at 247 South 2nd Street.
Okay, we had a great discussion earlier in the council meeting about how we can help small businesses trying to navigate this COVID, but also a good discussion at the work session when we were talking about this. This is a project that wouldn't likely have happened if it hadn't been for the facade program.
Yeah, this is definitely a necessity at this point. With restrictions as they are for restaurants, outdoor dining is an extreme necessity. So we're trying our best to figure out ways to provide a permanent structure that would meet the requirements for the facade improvement grant funding option. I think we found it on the east end, or east side of our entrance on the south side of the building. It's definitely a permanent installation. It's a pretty substantial awning cover, and we're excited to move forward with it. But it's definitely something that's going to help us out survive this winter, and hopefully we'll be starting next week.
Carmen, I think you said in the work session, you didn't include it in this, but you'll be putting heaters, outdoor a heater system as well in this area?
Yeah, for this year.
Okay.
So one of the other things that has come across with the COVID restrictions is the separation of groups in a restaurant or any kind of setting. And we usually have a fire pit outside, and that's kind of the way we warm our customers. But that encourages mingling of groups, so we are no longer providing our outdoor fire. My wife is pretty intense with her focus on reducing our carbon footprint whenever we can. So we're going to put heaters in for this year.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they will stay as a permanent fixture. There's a potential. We just got a new solar install, so maybe that'll balance it out. But once COVID restrictions are lifted, we can go back to having fires again. That's kind of our preferred method, as it is a local fuel source, and also part of the ambiance. But yes, we will have heaters out there because, right now we can only have like 20 people inside. So outside dining is kind of where we're at.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Carolyn or Carmen from the board?
Sorry to put you all in this position.
I'd just like to encourage other businesses to take note. If this is approved, there's still $141,000 in the Urban Renewal Agency towards facade grants. So others should apply.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the facade improvement grant request for up to $11,841 of eligible expenses for the approved project at 247 South 2nd Street.
Second?
And just for everyone to know, we already awarded almost $600,000 in facade grants this year. So this is just another one, and so I hope hopefully we can do the rest that's available to them.
All right, and then we have a motion and a second to approve the facade improvement grant of $11,841 for 247 South 2nd Street. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
And as Board Member Farmer said, we encourage other businesses to look at this program. Like he said, there is still $141,000 available for facade improvement grants, and this is the year to be creative, as Councilor Farmer, as Carmen said as well.
Whatever his name is.
Whatever that guy's name is.
You're as memorable as me.
I don't even know who I am. All right, our last item is an executive session, so we are not coming out of executive session, so to make any decisions. So we are going to move into executive session now at this time.
Well, thank everyone for attending. Thank you, Dave.
Thank
The
you.
Urban Renewal Agency will now meet